What's going on, yo? I've got some super cool buffs for both Grimmsnarl and Morgrim. So in this ROM hack, I heavily rework every single Pokemon. A lot of the times I'll make especially if it's like a three-stage line, like with this type of vibe where like the middle evo has its own little vibe going on, I'll make them worth using over the evolution for the whole game. So this is one of those cases. But yeah, I do rework every single Pokemon. All the moves are also heavily reworked. So give the move guide a look when you're done with this video. Don't click off yet because it'll mess up the watch time, but you can check out the description below and it has a link to Google Sheet that you can click after this video is done. Also, you can read the description and you don't have to click off to do that. So I recommend if you are new here, well, first of all, shout out to you if you are new here. But second of all, I recommend you do pause the video and read that description because I have a bullet point list explaining all of the basic fundamentals of how this ROM hack is balanced. So yeah, that's super important. Definitely do that. And if you're returning here, I appreciate you coming back. Shout out to you. Make sure everybody who's here, drop a like, sub if you haven't already. Leave a comment, all that good stuff. It helps with the algorithm, helps boost my channel and get my videos to more people, so more people see my work. But yeah, Grimmsnarl and Morgrim are both super cool. So they also form a bit of a duality with Hatterene, both of them sharing Tangling Hair, both of them being semi-pseudos, having the same stats just flipped around, and then Hatterene being slower and more Spadef, but otherwise it's the same stats but flipped around, which for Grimmsnarl and Hatterene at least, not for the pre-evos. Although the pre-evos do still have some overlapping stuff like the 96, stuff like that, cool numbers. And yeah, these guys have some really cool things going on that I would love to talk about. That I'm going to talk about. So Grimmsnarl being more offensively oriented with stuff like Ruthless, and then also more in terms of bulk, I guess, oriented with Intimidate. So he does drop Prankster. So the Pokedex actually does say that if you read it, because Prankster's all about being mischievous, right? So Grimmsnarl doesn't exactly look mischievous. He looks more like ruthless, angry, like just monstrous, while Morgrim looks like more of a shitbag, like a prankster type mon. However, the Pokedex does directly say it hasn't given up on its petty misdeeds and pranks. That doesn't change my take on them, which is like, yeah, Grimmsnarl could have Prankster, but I think having Morgrim be quote-unquote locked to Prankster, like having to keep Morgrim for Prankster is way cooler in my opinion, because I like to make it so that the player gets more freedom and more options. And when you have an evolutionary line like this, where the middle and final forms are drastically different from one another, it allows you to have more freedom in how your Pokemon play, which is kind of what Teamlocked is balanced around. It's balanced around keeping the same team, so you bond with them more, but all your Pokemon have tons and tons of options. So again, you have basically 5 abilities. No, 6. Yeah, all three of your abilities change when you evolve. So you can keep your Morgrim and then evolve into Grimmsnarl whenever you need to, if you ever even do need to. If you like Morgrim, it's really up to your personal preference, right? If you prefer using Prankster and Unburden and Wimp Out, you use those. If you prefer running Ruthless or Intimidate, whatever, you use those. All of them have their own great applications, which I'll cover in a second, but first I'm going to rapid fire the important stuff. So Intimidate's Intimidate. Don't need to cover the nuances of that yet. Tangling Hair is really good. #1 flavor-wise, I covered this in the Hatterene video as well. But the whole thing is, when its hairs unfurl, they latch onto opponents, and snaring them as tentacles would. Its whole thing is like this. It's like this fur beast, right, covered in like this fucking muscle fur, which I think is super cool to get them Tangling Hair. And I think it's so fitting flavor-wise that it's worth the mechanical nicheness of it. It's not bad. It's good, honestly. It's just maybe takes a little bit of thought to use. Meanwhile, something like Intimidate is just brainless, and Ruthless is a bit more, just automatic damage boost, automatic debuff. Tangling Hair is really cool, either to abuse the speed drop yourself, or to abuse it with a teammate. So, for example, Tangling Hair into a slow parting shot means that they have -1 offenses, -2 speed, if it's like a mon that's making contact with you. Or you can just switch in once, trigger Tangling Hair, and then outspeed with 59 base speed. With -1 is definitely relatively quick, and even better, you can run Tangling Hair plus Scarf. So Scarf in general is not bad on Grimmsnarl. If you get a neutral speed nature, you're hitting a base. You're outspeeding base 85? Nah, more. I was being a little bit harsh. 90. Base 90. Base 91. No, base 90. Yeah, base 90 Pokemon, which is that's good. That's already good, honestly. Outspeeding base 90. But if you run Scarf plus Tangling Hair and you switch in, now you're outspeeding like way. I mean, you're outspeeding like everything. Literally the entire game. You don't even need to run max. You don't even need to run speed EVs at that point. You can run no speed EVs, max HP, max attack or whatever, max special attack, and then one shot, whatever coverage move you want to use with Tangling Hair plus Choice Scarf. So that's a really cool combo as well. Of course, you can also run a bulkier Tangling Hair set and just debuff and then outspeed and kill or whatever. Tons of cool applications for Tangling Hair. And then Ruthless, I'll cover in a second, but it's pretty self-explanatory. All the moves that are bolded get a 50% boost. They all have their own respective drawbacks and flavor, and I gave them the special ones earlier, so that way you are more encouraged to use its lower special attack stat. Same thing with Hatterene. They get Soul Crush at 47, while Grimmsnarl gets Radiant Edge and Night Days, which are the special Wicked Blow type variants, so for Dark and Fairy, so that's really cool. And then at level 60, he gets Soul Crush and actual Wicked Blow, which is like obviously insanely strong. However, can't be used twice in a row, so you can't spam like Scarf Soul Crush or Scarf Wicked Blow. You've also got Brutal Bash, all this other cool stuff. False Surrender is also a really cool, powerful flinch move. But first, I want to talk about Morgrem more and the Prankster stuff and the Unburdened stuff. Wimp Out, flavor-wise, very fitting ability. You know, he looks like a little shitbag who's going to run away from you. Yeah, like it likes ambushing because it doesn't have confidence in its brawn, so that's why I picked Wimp Out for him. He's a bit of a wimp. Impidimp definitely fits Wimp Out. And then Prankster Unburdened I think is really cool on them, with Morgrem being more speed-oriented, more utility-oriented. It's not weak. A 96 attack with its coverage moves and high base power moves is definitely not bad. It's just Grimmsnarl is significantly stronger offensively, which is what you want to evolve for if you want to evolve for that reason. But yeah, Morgrem, really cool. Unburden is really good, especially with buffed Quick Claw, but even in general, it's good. So as you see on screen, I got a little guide explaining that, but yeah, Quick Claw is a single-use consumable, so that's the easiest way to abuse Unburden, but there's a bunch of other ways you can abuse it still. Even just simple things like Endure plus Lychee Berry plus Unburden is very, very good with Movie Learner because you don't lose anything for teaching Endure. Excuse me. Man, hold on. Sorry. Yeah, not to mention item claws and stuff definitely encourages more cool things like that. But yeah, that's Unburden for you. It's very good. You don't need to run any speed EVs. You can run, you know, max attack, max HP, Unburden, get the Unburden boost, outspeed, and kill things. What else is there? Well, there's a bunch of other stuff. I'm getting distracted. Prankster, very obvious. I mean, you've got your screens, you've got your Encore. Keep in mind, if you want to run Light Clay with screens, you can't run a Violite. But with a Violite, Morgrem is very, very, very tanky, especially on the special side. But even without a Violet, it's got some respectable bulk with investment, of course. But yeah, Prankster Parting Shot, Prankster Encore, Prankster Confide and Tickle is really cool. Early game, you've got even like Leer Fake Tears, which are essentially both worse versions of Scary Face. So Scary Face drops speed by 2, and then defense and special defense by -1. Leer and Fake Tears are both -1 speed, -1 either defense or special defense, so that's how those work. Prankster Torment is good. Prankster Disable, Encore Disable Prankster, very, very good. Glare, awesome. That's essentially paralyzing and dropping attack and special attack. So yeah, Glare, Encore, Parting Shot, Taunt, Charm. What else? Swagger is really cool. Swagger and Flatter are +6 now. So essentially you click those into Topsy-Turvy. You also have Prankster Encore and Disable, so you can like Encore them into something that you're immune to. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of, you can Encore them to something that you're immune to, force a switch, or if Encore them to something that you're resistant to, whatever. I mean, there's tons of cool applications for the Swagger, Flatter, Topsy-Turvy combo with Prankster. And also Topsy-Turvy in general is just a nice utility move to have. If the AI is using setup moves and stuff, you can tack that on with Movie Learner to shut that down. So that's fun. Very good utility there. Yeah, that's most of the Prankster stuff. Will-O-Wisp as well. Prankster Will-O-Wisp is huge, 100% accurate as well. So it's only got 2 PP, but that's still 2 free burns a fight, obviously. So that's very, very good. Yeah, and you can use, you know, utility moves. And then yeah, Impidimp is very tanky, especially for early game. It's pretty frail physically, but with investment it can still take some hits, especially earlier on. And up until level 20, it's like not even that frail. Like it is frail, but it's, with investment it'll be okay. And then it's not that strong, but it's not weak either. For early game standards, it's like kind of average offensive stats. The main thing is just a big spadef, and then also it's really fast with Unburden or Prankster. And then Wimp Out is obviously great utility. Wimp Out in general is really useful because in a ROM hack like this, getting that free pivot without having to even take up a turn is good. Of course, Prankster Parting Shot is great too, but sometimes you don't want to even have to do that. Sometimes you want to just get the straight up Wimp Out. At least as far as I can think of. In practice, it might end up being mid, so I'll have to change it eventually. You know, stuff will get changed down the line, but because I will say Prankster Parting Shot is definitely really good too, but I still think Wimp Out has its uses over that. Especially if you want to bait a specific mover, or like for example, if you Parting Shot, you have to take a hit on whatever comes in still, if you're Prankster Parting Shotting. Meanwhile, if you're Wimp Out, you just automatically get that switch. So either way, it's good, especially when you only get one eject button per boss fight with item claws. Having those pivot moves is very useful. Single use eject button, unlike Sweltering Sun with the infinite eject button. Single use meaning in Sweltering it never goes away. Like it can be used multiple times each fight is what I'm trying to say. But in Scrambled it's the same thing as vanilla where it's a single use per fight. Not that it's only one for the whole game, of course. Yeah. Okay, so now I guess I can cover the rootless stuff. So on top of all the Wicked Blow variants I covered already, you've also got Doom Desire, which is really cool. Doom Desire, rootless, 225 base power. Doom Desire right there, dark type stab. You can use that with Parting Shot. You've also got Lash Out, which is a really nice early on. That's 112.5 base power at level 40 plus. You know, the second you evolve, you get that. I mean, you also have it on Morgrim, but it's only 75 power on Morgrim. But with Grimmsnarl, it's 112.5 base power, dark move. And that can also be used twice in a row, so that's good with like Scarf and other stuff. First Impression, very strong move there as well. I also need to underline, I forgot to underline Laceration, all these 50% crit moves. Because I underlined Night Slash and Cross Chop by level up. Because I underlined them because they are 50% crit moves, so they aren't a guaranteed crit, and this thing isn't very fast. So at least Grimmsnarl isn't, so you're not going to be abusing Ruthless too much with Scope Lens, I would say. I mean, maybe some niche cases with something slower than you if you want to run like Scope Lens, Night Slash, plus Laceration and other coverage moves, whatever. I mean, if you got like Terra's fucking Steel or some weird shit like that, it could be cool. Yeah, I mean, there's really not too much else to say. I mean, Stone Edge and Temper Flare are very strong rootless physical options, as well as Brutal Bash, with Stone Edge and Temper Flare being significantly earlier than Brutal Bash. Both of those are rootless boosted 180 base power moves. All of those Wicked Blow type variants can't be used twice in a row like I covered earlier, but less impactful on something that's slow like this. But it's still somewhat of a fair drawback. You've got your... Yeah, I mean, even like... so, for example, if you're not running Ruthless, then stuff like Eternal Beam and then Twilight Cannon becomes a lot better, because if you're running like Intimidate, Eject Pack, Twilight Cannon, for example, you can Intimidate something on the switch and then Twilight Cannon and get the free switch out. That's pretty fun. Twilight Cannon being Dark type Draco Meteor, so those are all really cool as well. And that's really early on, level 43. So I do, when there's Pokemon that are mixed attacking, but ones that is still, pretty significantly lower than the other, I always try to give them the moves earlier on the lower side, so that way they abuse the base power of the move makes up for the stat being lower, right? So in this case, Radiant Edge Night Days at level 47 is so much earlier than level 60 Soul Crush and Wicked Blow, so that's really fun for sure. Definitely makes you take advantage of that Tangling Hair. That special attack stat. And yeah, Full Surrender, very cheesy in-game flinch move. It's only legal for like the last handful of boss fights in the game, but it is a very strong priority, ruthless boosted flinch move. It's also good on Morgrim. It's good on all of them. It can even be good for Morgrim with like sweeping sets with Unburden, because it allows you to cheese the Quick Claw, whatever it is. So that's all really good stuff. What's some other cool prankster stuff? I don't know, I covered most of the important ones. Stuff like T-Wave doesn't matter much in game, especially when you have Glare anyway. Which is that, but also debuffs attacking stats. Acid Reflux is cool, that poisons and drops special defense by -2. But yeah, I would say the main ones is like Confide and Tickle, Confide being special Tickle, Disable, Encore, Parting Shot, Will-O-Wisp, those are like the big ones. Yeah, you've also got your regular old priority Pixie Dust, Night Burst, Befuddle, Sucker Punch, Fake Out, Shadow Sneak, First Impression being Ruthless boosted, which is super cool. Coil is pretty cool on paper, because, I mean, Coil flavor-wise is sick, right? Because he's got the whole thing going on with, like, his fucking tentacle-like hairs. But, of course, he already gets bulk up naturally. He actually is funny enough that he is the bulk up Pokemon, by the way, which is kind of funny. The cool thing about Coil is it gives you an accuracy boost, so you can abuse... He gets very few inaccurate moves, however, he has 3 of them on the physical side, which are Gunk Shot, Megaton Kick, and Supercell Slam. So with those 3 moves, you can definitely take advantage of Coil, especially if you got Terra, Ground, Poison, or Electric. I think it'd be really cool to abuse Coil with those. Still pretty niche, but it's a cool little flavor move, so there you go. That's pretty much it. A bunch of other coverage moves I could touch on, but I trust that you guys can read and look at them and just, use your best judgment to understand how those work, and just the levels at which they get the moves and all that stuff. So yeah, if you made it to the end, shout out to you. I really do appreciate that. Hope you enjoyed this one. I think it's really cool. I really like the way I approached Morgrim and Grimmsnarl being so different from one another. And then I guess I should have covered this by now, but anybody who's 15 minutes in already knows what a semi-pseudo is and all that stuff in this ROM hack, so I'm not gonna bother. Yeah, leave a comment down below if you made it to the end. I guess I didn't say Moonlight. Damn it, whatever. Yeah, I mean, hopefully you looked at it and just saw that it gets Moonlight. Yeah, it does get healing priority, prankster stuff. Or just even with Tangling Hair or whatever other ability, it's good. So, yeah. Alright. Shout out to if you made it to the end. I guess last thing I'll touch on is like Intimidate plus Charm or Battle Cry or other debuffing moves is also very good. Or Intimidate, Parting Shot, etc. So, yeah. Alright. Leave a comment. I'll be back for more. Peace.